journey of how we cover political news and what exactly we understand by political reporting, it is essential that we understand what the democratic structure or the parliamentary structure of the country looks like. So, the first thing, we all know we are a democracy. And of course, democracies are of two kinds. We either have a parliamentary form of government, the way it is in the UK, and we have borrowed it from them post-independence, or it could be the presidential form, which is prevalent in the United States of America. So for any democracy to be vibrant, it is important that we take on at least one form of democracy so that we can be guided through the guidelines of that particular democratic form of government. Now, when we talk about India, India is a parliamentary democracy, which means that the legislator here is quite significant. The Prime Minister and his cabinet is picked from the parliament. So all our leaders, whoever form the government and they take on to the posts of various ministers, are those people who are getting picked from amongst the parliamentarians only, which is not so the case in the United States of America. So here, government makes the bills, they propose bills, then they bring it onto the floor of the parliament. And once it comes to the parliaments, there are a lot of arguments and discussions and debates that take place over the pros and cons of those bills and whether it is in the larger public interest or not, or are we missing something, or if amendments are needed. And after a proper voting takes place, after a consensus is built on whether or not the bill should be passed, and once it gets passed, then it goes to the president for the presidential assent. And once the president has assented on it, then the bill turns into an act. And that is how we make the laws and rules for our people. So now when we talk about the parliamentary business and political reporting, what we need to essentially understand is we are talking of a certain situation. We're talking of the parliament, we're talking of something that is going on within the parliament and something important which concerns all of us as the electorate, as the citizens of the country, because we are going to be affected directly by the policies or the acts or the bills that are getting passed and made. So it can either be economic, it can either be political, it can be related to any aspect of life, it can be of late related to vaccinations because of the ongoing pandemic. So whatever policies, whatever laws are getting made, it is important to understand them. And the thing of understanding what's going on within the parliament and to translate into the language of local people so as to ensure that they are able to comprehend what is meant by that law or the act is something which is dependent highly on the media. So the way media covers it, the way it analyzes it, after analyzing, how does it interpret it? And the interpretation, the way it is brought to the people of the country through various outlets, be it newspapers, be it television, be it social media, any platform that you talk about. So that is what entails political reporting. Now, when I talk about interpretation, so say, for example, we talk about the farmers' laws, which is recently very much in news for the past few months. Now, there is one section of people who believes that this is going to uplift the small farmers, those who are forced to die out of poverty and are not able to make their ends meet. On the other hand, there is a section of farmers, there are a section of people who think that these laws are not really for their benefit and it is out to benefit the bigger corporates of the country. So these are two interpretations. The bills, the laws that have been passed, if you read through them in toto, if you read the details, you will figure out how it has been presented and what is the exact implications of this law. So the implication of the law or the act or the bill is brought to us by the media. So it is important that we understand the parliamentary business and political reporting to a greater extent because, yes, this is one serious form of reporting. We are not talking lifestyle here. We are not talking maybe sports here. Though every beat is equally important and has equal significance and requires specialization, on the part of the reporter. Yet, when we're talking about political reporting, because this directly has something to do with our everyday life, with the amount of money we're spending on something, say, for example, fuel, petrol or diesel, or whether we're moving into electric vehicles. All those things matter, and hence political reporting becomes more serious in nature and more important in terms of the way it is covered. So, proceeding on to that, one thing is that we get news from inside the parliament. Now, we all know there are two houses. Like this session, I will devote to explaining what our parliamentary system of democracy works like and how do we actually go about making laws and, everything, the way it gets covered and all. So now let's begin with the two houses of the parliament. We all know then we have one Lok Sabha and one Rajya Sabha. So Lok Sabha has a 5-year term whenever we elect a government until the government falls for some reason. And if it has got the consensus of the country, it stays in power for 5 years, after which we hold elections again. And then these people are the ones who are getting elected through direct elections. They're not being appointed like the way it happens in Rajya Sabha. So these are the people who we choose. They are our representatives, the representatives of the electorate, and they are coming through direct elections. And then the maximum strength of the Lok Sabha is 552 members. The Rajya Sabha is exactly the half, which means 250 members, and the seats are allocated to different states and union territories. And this is done on the basis of the size, the chunk of population that state has or that union territory has. So the Vidhan Sabhas of different states, they are the ones who elect their representatives who will go to the Rajya Sabha. And this is done by means of voting. So every Vidhan Sabha member will vote onto the names of those which are proposed to be nominated for Rajya Sabha, and the one person who gets elected makes it to the Rajya Sabha from that state. Now, these 250 members, so they come through not through direct elections, not by fighting elections and coming through the electorate. These are the ones who are indirectly appointed by the states or the union territories. Now, the Vidhan Sabhas have elected them. The parliamentary system, or let us say the parliament and state legislature, hence become an important source of news, especially when the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha are in session. Because whenever they are in session, whenever the parliamentarians will sit together, they will discuss various bills, they will discuss various acts, and then we will have something more to discuss about, something which has a direct implication on our lives, so on and so forth. So this becomes an important source of news as far as parliamentary reporting goes. The next thing is that people want to know about the laws that are being made. Or say, for example, it is about who all will be eligible for getting education in the country free of cost. Or how are we looking at selling off assets to private hands. So all those issues, people want to know about what laws are being made, what kind of economic bills are we coming up with, what kind of a budget do we have, what kind of rail budget do we have, are we going to increase prices. Those are a few things that get discussed in the lower house as well as the upper house of the parliament. The government now, they are obliged, they have an obligation to announce the major acts which has been passed and the activities that are done in the parliament. So we have a 0 hour, we have the papers to be laid on the table of the house. So there are some indirect questions which can be raised and the answers to which will be provided in the form of the papers which are laid on the table of the house. So ideally, in some form or the other, the government is responsible. They are obligated to provide all the required information to the electorate. And this is the kind of information which reaches us through the media. Now, debates are also reported. Anything that goes wrong, we have all heard about the Indian parliament and the kind of confrontations that happen between opposition parties, or the kind of pandemonium that gets created where a particular minister or a particular leader is not allowed to discuss or to present the bill at all, because already there is so much pandemonium in the parliament due to the opposition parties. So all this makes masala news. And all this gets reported through the media to the people. So these are a few things. Besides that, so far we've been talking about the news that comes from inside the parliament. So there are galleries which are made for the media persons, and these people, the media people, are based there. And there can be times when the speaker might ask the media to shut down their cameras or not to report. So certain classified information, certain issues that are getting discussed which should not go out, or which would maybe harm the reputation of the lower and upper houses of the parliament, are shut down to media for certain time. Otherwise, as far as the normal reporting goes, political reporting is done when you have, those galleries for the media persons, and they report directly whatever is happening inside the parliament. But again, this is something which happens when parliament is in session. Now, let us look at the second aspect of this, which is the news that comes from outside the parliament. So now there are dedicated reporters, who would cover the parliament. Not everybody, maybe a sports reporter or a lifestyle reporter, or any reporter who is an expert on a different beat cannot go and do political reporting that well. So all political reporters must follow parliamentary proceedings. So there are dedicated reporters, senior reporters, who would take on the beat of political reporting, number one. Yet, whoever is engaged in a news organization in the capacity of a political reporter must be able to follow the parliamentary proceedings. Because you never know, there is a certain kind of discussion happening. What kind of pointers may give the idea of a great story, you do not know. So everybody who's into political reporting in a certain news organization must listen to the parliamentary proceedings. Sometimes the news comes from outside the parliament, as leaders also express opinions outside the house. A number of times it so happens that the debates are so long in nature, they get so elongated, and people take more time than what is prescribed to them sometimes. So there can be a number of people who are not given a chance, or who cannot find time to opine or maybe share their views within the parliament. Now, these are also people of importance, who you would see the media people would come after them for their bites, for the opinions. And those people would come out of the parliament and they would give their opinions on issues of public interest. Now, let us look at the political parties. We need to understand all these parties who create such furor within the parliament, and whose the leaders of whom would issue a statement, and that issued statement will become a cause of discussion within the country for the next few days. How do these political parties get formed? What are they exactly? Let's just understand the basic nature of these political parties. So the first thing that we need to know is that a political party is an organization or association of people. So this is basically an association. Then, of course, this is a collective of people who have joined hands to contest elections and hold power in the government. So when we say they've joined hands, it is usually because of some similar interests that come together. So I will give you a very simple example. You all must be having some RWA around your house or within the society that you're living in. Now, what is that RWA? And RWA is this association, Resident Welfare Association, which is made because we want to look after the locality that we're staying. We want to ensure that there are no stray dogs there, or there's no problem of monkeys over there, or maybe there is no theft over there. Children are safe and secure, and the roads and the electricity are not a problem over there. Infrastructure is good. So for that, who works collectively? The RWA works collectively. And of course, they also charge you some minuscule amount of money on a yearly basis or a biannual basis. So it is quite similar to a political party, which again is an organization or association which is coming together because they have certain interests, they have certain common interests of the entire public that they're talking about in mind. Now, the political parties are formed with a purpose. Like I said, they have to have some objective. Whenever you form an organization or an association, you have to have some objective of why you're forming them. Each of this political party will believe in a certain kind of ideology. Like, say, for example, if we talk of the leftist parties have a certain kind of an ideology. They believe more in the Marxist form of governance as when it comes to social justice, when it comes to economic equality or inclusion, exclusion, and such other ideas. So also you have the capitalists. You also have other, political parties. So they have their own defined ideology. Now they agree on some policies or programs Up to a certain number of units, electricity should be free in every city of the country. Now, this is a good thing to agree upon, and this can be one of the reasons why people come together and they see to it that, they form an association or an organization which will work towards something like this. Or the fact that within every 5 kilometers there should be a hospital. So those are a few things that people will agree upon. They will come across, join hands and work in association to work towards these interests. Then, of course, there is this idea of promoting collective good. A political party can be active, a political party can be important, it can enjoy the significance only as long as it has people who are supporting it. So supporters are very important, and precisely that is the reason why every party has its ideology and objectives designed according to the electorate, from whom they are seeking the vote. So this is about political parties. Now let us look at the activities of political party and political reporting. I will not get into greater details of the funding of a political party. There is much to know about any organization or association which gets formed. It is important to understand how it is getting funded, what all can it do, what is within its powers and where its powers gets delimited. All those things are important. But broadly touching upon the functions of this political party, I will say that there are 4 major functions of any political party. One of which is selection of candidates. You should know who are the people who are representing your electorate. Who are the people who understand the problems of this area best and will be able to articulate them and take proper actions, have good ideas of how to get policies implemented so that the benefits of these policies and the laws that we make reach to the grassroots. The second is mobilization of voters. In the past general elections, India has seen that a lot of middle class would like to enjoy that one chutti that is given to them for casting their vote. So a lot of this middle class segment of the country does not go out to vote. Of late, this trend has improved, and we have seen close to good like 60 to 70% voter turnout in general elections as well. But what is important is that you should be able to, as a member of a political party or as an entity which a political party is, you should be able to mobilize your voters. That is another function of political parties. Until you ensure the people for whom you're working, they would come out and vote for you, they would elect you and put you in a place where you can make decisions for them. What good is it that you continuously work for them? So this is the second function. The third thing is facilitation of governance. It is important that everything in a society, if it is, government-less, if it is devoid of any sort of governance, you can very well understand that any sort of basic facility even will not reach the common masses, the common people. So in order to facilitate the benefits, reaping of benefits and carrying out of your responsibilities, it is important that we facilitate governance in every area that we are a part of. The fourth thing is monitoring the opposing party when it is in power. Now, this is something very interesting, and this is something that I should be speaking less about because you know about it already. So when we say monitoring the political party in any democracy, this is not an autocratic rule, it is a democracy. So in any democracy, what is important is the opposition. As long as the opposition is important, you will be able to raise a furor, raise your voice and put things down, pin it down, and ask for accountability, ask for naming the people who are responsible for doing something wrong or criticizing it openly. So if the opposition is not strong, the people in the government are free to do what they like and the way they please. So in any democracy, that is very, very important. And hence, the function of the political party also becomes that you closely monitor the opposing party when it is in power. These are the functions of a political party. A political reporter, what should he be able to do? He should be able to recognize these functions. And then the second thing is that he should be able to appreciate the related activities. Whenever some political party is taking interest in carrying out these functions or doing some activities, those are the things which should get covered. So that attracts broadly the media coverage in any city or any place. So these are the important things that a political reporter should also keep in mind. Now, when we talk about what are the other functions, what else does a political reporter do and what else do we follow? The first important thing is the public meetings and the rallies. This is the most common activity that any political party carries out. Public meetings are addressed by senior leaders of the party, a ruling party, or the opposition, depending upon whose public meeting it is. So, and of course, it is the most effective tool of communicating with the masses, because this is the only way how you're coming in direct contact with your electorate, with your people. So it is a very important way of not only communicating but also connecting with them, establishing a. You would see very often that leaders, national leaders, when they go to different states, they try to speak a few sentences in their language. Right. Or they would wear something which is appropriate, which is more of a state's dress. So if somebody goes to Assam, they would be seen wearing a japi and they would be seen taking a gamcha or the traditional dress of that state. So they would like to dress up like that. They would like to speak a few sentences in their language. Why? What is the idea? Why does somebody want to do that? They want to identify with the people. They want to show and convince the people of that state that they identify with them, they relate with their culture, and they accept their culture, language, food, everything. So that is one way of becoming a part of the community, which any leader always tries. And of course, the speeches provide very good input for writing news reports. Whatever is spoken in a speech, because whenever, say for example, the Prime Minister is addressing the electorate in a certain state, he would speak about all those facilities, all those schemes, all those rules that they have come up with, which would benefit the people of the state. At the same time, they would also talk about what more will be done if this party comes to power in that state. So ideally, it brings in a lot of news inputs. So all the political reporters or people who are covering the political beat must be very attentive to all these inputs that can form good news reports. Then, of course, rallies are organized as a show of strength to the opponents. The greater the people, the more the janta participating in their rallies, the better show of strength it is to the opponent. And it is attended by thousands of party workers. Every city, every state has, because these are, okay, I'm talking about national level political parties, and there are thousands of party workers who are spread across the state. And there's a lot of canvassing that is done to garner support of the people. You would see that maybe within a span of a few months right before the elections, direct activities start taking place a month or 2 months in advance. And 4 to 5 months in advance, there are indirect things that are happening. So canvassing is done in a multidimensional manner. It is not just limited to just going and telling people, please vote for X. No, it is also about what all are you doing. So say 2 months before the elections, a new scheme will be announced for the state, or some new reservation policy would be announced, some kind of benefit would be announced. This is an indirect way of reaching. Then of course, there are various styles of doing this kind of a canvassing. It can be bike rallies and cycle rallies. These have become very popular. Then of course there are road shows. Road shows are something, earlier we even used to see celebrities doing it. Now if celebrities do support some political party, it is only on social media, not exactly through road shows, but the political leaders do it through road shows. And then of course there is Rath Yatra. You must have all heard about the Jagannath Rath Yatra of Odisha. So it is quite a popular way of canvassing as far as elections are concerned, or political communication is concerned. So that too. This has also become a new form of political campaigning. And then there are senior political leaders who would use this as a measure to reach out to the people and influence them. People also get influenced when they come across those leaders who they do not, get a chance to meet up with very often. The faces that they've only seen on screens and they've never really shaken hands with them. So that is also an influencing factor. So these political leaders gain quite a mileage out of it. They make use of this measure to reach out to the people in a better manner, in a more influencing and convincing manner. So the next way how a political party approaches the people, and the next source from where a political reporter can get some news inputs is the demonstration and processions. This is done by parties in the opposition when they resort to demonstration, processions, dharna, road blockade, and other similar activities for lodging protest. And the use of plaques, banners, posters, and black flags is usually seen when you're trying to say that you're protesting on an issue. Raising slogans in support of their demands and to condemn their political opponent is also seen as a very viable way of raising your protest. Here, when we talk about demonstrations and processions, it is usually done when you're wanting to protest against a certain policy that government has